The call came on a Tuesday morning, and Maya Ortiz almost sent it to voicemail until she saw the hospital's number flash across her screen. Her younger sister Emma was in the emergency room after a car accident, and Maya's world tilted sideways as she grabbed her keys and ran. 3 hours later, sitting beside Emma's hospital bed with her sister's hand wrapped in both of hers, Maya learned two things. First, Emma would be fine after some physical therapy for her fractured leg. Second, the driver of the other car had been drunk at 2 in the afternoon, and his name was Warren Mitchell. The name meant nothing to Maya then. She was too busy being grateful that her 22-year-old sister was alive, that the injuries were not worse, that they still had each other after losing their parents 5 years ago. The police said charges were being filed. The insurance company said they would handle everything. Maya focused on Emma's recovery and tried not to think about the stranger who had nearly taken her sister from her. 6 months passed. Emma healed slowly, going to physical therapy 3 times a week while Maya juggled her job as an architect and the extra caretaking. The settlement came through, enough to cover the medical bills and Emma's lost wages from her job at the bookstore. Life returned to something approaching normal, though Maya noticed Emma still flinched at the sound of screeching tires. Maya was working late at the architecture firm one evening when her boss called her into his office. Richard had that excited gleam in his eye that meant a big project was coming. "We have a new client," he said, sliding a folder across his desk. "Warren Mitchell. He owns Mitchell Industries, the shipping and logistics empire, worth about $300 million. He wants to build a community center in the Riverside neighborhood." Maya's hand froze halfway to the folder. "Warren Mitchell, you have heard of him. Good. He specifically requested our firm. Apparently, he saw the designs you did for the Jefferson Library and was impressed." The name echoed in Maya's head. It was not a common combination. What kind of community center? Full service. Youth programs, job training, counseling services, health clinic. He wants it to serve the neighborhood's most vulnerable populations. Addiction recovery, families in crisis, kids who need a safe place after school. Big budget, no cutting corners. He seems very passionate about it. Maya picked up the folder with numb fingers. Inside were preliminary notes, budget projections, and a photo clipped to the front page. The man in the picture was probably in his early 30s, with dark hair, sharp features, and intense gray eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. Handsome in a severe way. And definitely the same man whose driver's license photo she had seen in the police report. "When does he want to start?" she asked. "Meeting is scheduled for Thursday morning. You will be the lead architect. This could be career-defining, Maya." She nodded slowly, mind racing. The right thing to do was tell Richard about the connection, about the accident. Let someone else take the project. But she thought about Emma's medical bills that had eaten through their savings even with the settlement. She thought about the raise that would come with a successful project this size. She thought about the community center itself, about the people it would help. And she thought about facing the man who had nearly killed her sister. Thursday morning arrived too quickly. Maya dressed carefully in her best navy suit, pulled her dark hair into a professional bun, and practiced keeping her expression neutral in the mirror. She could be professional. She could separate her personal feelings from her work. This was just another client. Warren Mitchell walked into the conference room exactly on time, and Maya's first thought was that he looked tired. There were shadows under those gray eyes, and his expensive suit hung a little loose on his frame, as if he had recently lost weight. He shook hands with Richard first, then turned to Maya. "Miss Ortiz, I'm glad you will be working on this project. Your design for the Jefferson Library was exactly the kind of thoughtful, community-focused architecture I am looking for." His handshake was firm and brief. His voice was deep and carefully controlled. Maya met his eyes and saw no recognition there. Why would there be? He had probably never even learned Emma's name. "Thank you, Mr. Mitchell," she said evenly. "I understand you want to build a community center in Riverside. Please call me Warren." He sat down and pulled out a leather portfolio. "I know Riverside well. I grew up a few blocks from where I want to build. The neighborhood needs resources it does not have. I want to create something that actually helps people, not just a vanity project with my name on it." For the next 2 hours, they discussed his vision. Warren had done his research. He knew the neighborhood's demographics, its challenges, its strengths. He wanted the building to feel welcoming, not institutional. He wanted spaces that were flexible and dignified. He wanted it to be beautiful because the people who used it deserved beauty in their lives. Despite herself, Maya found her professional interest engaged. This was the kind of project architects dreamed about, where the budget was adequate and the purpose was meaningful. She took notes, asked questions, and started sketching preliminary ideas. "I want to include an addiction recovery program," Warren said at one point, his voice carefully neutral, "with counseling services, group meeting spaces, and connections to medical care. That is non-negotiable." Maya's pen paused on the paper. She looked up at him. "That is important to you?" "Yes." He met her eyes, and for a moment, something raw showed through his controlled exterior. "I have seen what addiction does to people and families. I want to create a place where people can get real help." Richard jumped in with questions about timelines and permits, and the moment passed. But Maya kept glancing at Warren throughout the rest of the meeting, trying to reconcile the man in front of her with the drunk driver from the police report. The meeting ended with a handshake and an agreement to meet again the following week with preliminary designs. Warren paused at the door, turning back to Maya. "I appreciate you taking this on," he said. "I know it is a complicated project, but I think you understand what I am trying to do here." "I will do my best," Maya said, which was the only honest thing she could say. Over the next 2 weeks, Maya threw herself into the designs. She visited the Riverside site, talked to neighborhood residents, researched best practices for community centers. She created 3 different conceptual designs, each one trying to capture Warren's vision of a space that was both functional and hopeful. She also did something she was not proud of. She looked Warren Mitchell up online. The recent articles were all about his business success and philanthropy. Mitchell Industries had grown dramatically under his leadership over the past 3 years. He had donated to homeless shelters, addiction treatment centers, and youth programs. There were photos of him at charity galas, always alone, never smiling much. But when Maya dug deeper, she found the older articles. The tabloid stories from 5 and 6 years ago about Warren Mitchell, the wild heir to the Mitchell fortune. Drunk driving arrests, bar fights, a DUI conviction when he was 26, rumors of cocaine use. Photos of him stumbling out of clubs at 3 in the morning. The articles painted a picture of a man spiraling out of control, burning through money and second chances. Then, about 3 years ago, the stories stopped. Warren had gone to rehab, according to one brief article. When he reappeared in the news 6 months later, it was in the business section. He had taken over the struggling family company from his aging father and started turning it around. The party boy had vanished, replaced by a focused businessman known for his work ethic and his philanthropy. The accident that had injured Emma had happened 2.5 years ago, right in the middle of that transformation. Maya pulled up the police report again, reading it more carefully this time. Warren had been driving home from lunch when he went through a red light and struck Emma's car. His blood alcohol level had been .09, just over the legal limit. He had been cooperative with police, had not tried to use his money or influence to escape responsibility. He had pleaded guilty, paid a fine, done community service, and had his license suspended. Maya closed her laptop feeling more confused than before. Everything about the Warren Mitchell she was working with now suggested a man who had genuinely changed his life. But did that erase what he had done? Did it matter that he was sober now when Emma still had nightmares about the accident? The next meeting came on a rainy Thursday. Maya spread her 3 design concepts across the conference table and walked Warren through each one. He leaned over the drawings, asking thoughtful questions, pointing out details he liked or elements that could be improved. "This one," he said finally, tapping the 3rd design. "This is the heart of what I want. This open central gathering space, the way the different wings connect. It feels welcoming." "That design requires the most complicated structural work," Maya warned. "It will be more expensive and take longer to build." "I do not care about the timeline or the cost. I care about it being right." Warren looked up at her, and there was an intensity in his expression that made her breath catch. "These people deserve something built right, built with care." "I want to do this correctly." Richard practically glowed with satisfaction. "We can make this work. Maya, you will start on the detailed plans." Maya nodded, and just like that, she was committed to spending the next year working closely with Warren Mitchell. The work began in earnest. Maya met with Warren twice a week to review progress and make decisions. He was demanding but fair, and he clearly respected her expertise. He listened when she explained why certain design choices were necessary, and pushed back only when he felt something was compromising the building's purpose. Maya told herself she was being professional. She answered his questions, incorporated his feedback, and kept her personal feelings locked away. But it was getting harder to maintain that separation. Because the more time she spent with Warren, the more she saw evidence of the change he had made in his life. He was always exactly on time, never a minute late. He drank coffee in their meetings, never anything stronger, even when Richard offered whiskey to celebrate clearing a major permit hurdle. He was patient with contractors, firm but never cruel. He remembered the names of everyone they worked with, from the senior partners to the administrative assistants. He asked Maya about her weekends and actually listened to the answers. And he talked, carefully but honestly, about why this project mattered to him. "I wasted a lot of years," he told her one afternoon as they stood on the construction site, reviewing where the foundation would be poured. "I had every advantage in life and I nearly destroyed myself with it. I hurt people. I disappointed everyone who cared about me. For a long time I did not think I could be anyone different." Maya kept her eyes on the survey markers, not trusting herself to look at him. "What changed?" "I finally hurt someone I could not ignore." His voice was low and rough. "I hit another car while I was driving drunk. The person I hit was badly injured. She was young, just starting her life, and I nearly ended it because I could not be bothered to call a cab." Maya's hands clenched into fists. "What happened to her?" "I do not know the details. My lawyer handled the settlement. I never met her or her family. I think about her all the time, though. I wonder if she recovered fully. I hope she is okay. I hope she is happy." "You could find out," Maya said quietly. "I think about that too, but what would I say?" "Sorry I nearly killed you. Hope you are doing well." Warren shook his head. "Some things you do not get to fix. You just have to live with what you did and try to be better." Maya finally looked at him. His jaw was tight, his eyes fixed on the middle distance. He looked like a man carrying a weight he would never put down. "This center," she said. "This is your way of trying to be better. It is a start. It will never be enough, but it is what I can do." They stood in silence for a moment, the sounds of traffic and city life flowing around them. Maya felt something shift inside her chest, a wall she had built beginning to crack. She was not ready to forgive him. She was not even sure she could separate the man in front of her from the drunk driver who had hurt Emma. But she was beginning to understand him, and that was almost worse. Because understanding made it harder to hate him. Weeks turned into months. The project moved forward. Maya's preliminary designs became detailed plans, which became permit applications and contractor bids. Warren was involved in every step, making decisions quickly and backing Maya's recommendations when contractors pushed back on her specifications. They fell into an easy working rhythm. Then, gradually, something more. It started small. Warren brought Maya coffee the way she liked it without being asked. Maya remembered that he preferred reviewing plans on paper rather than screens. They started arriving at meetings a few minutes early to chat about things unrelated to work. Warren asked about Maya's sister, and she found herself telling him about Emma's progress in physical therapy, carefully omitting any details about the accident. Maya told herself it was just professional courtesy, that she was being friendly because he was a client. But she could not explain why her heart beat faster when she saw his name on her calendar. She could not explain why she took extra care with her appearance on the days they met. She could not explain the warmth that spread through her chest when he smiled at something she said. She was developing feelings for Warren Mitchell, and she had no idea what to do about it. The situation came to a head on a cold November evening. Maya was working late at the office, finalizing specifications for the community center's interior spaces. Everyone else had gone home. She was so focused on her work that she did not hear the knock on her door until it came a second time. Warren stood in the doorway, snowflakes melting on his dark coat. "I saw your light was still on. I was in the neighborhood and thought I would see if you needed anything for tomorrow's contractor meeting." "You were in the neighborhood at 8 at night?" Maya asked, raising an eyebrow. He had the grace to look slightly embarrassed. "I was worried you were pushing yourself too hard." "You have been looking tired lately." "I am fine. This project is just demanding. I know I have been asking too much of you." Warren stepped into her office, closing the door behind him. "Maya, I need to tell you something." Her heart jumped into her throat. "What is it?" "This project has been important to me from the beginning. You know that. But somewhere along the way, it stopped being the only thing I looked forward to in our meetings." He paused, clearly choosing his words carefully. "I look forward to seeing you, to talking with you. You are brilliant and passionate about your work, and you make me want to be a better person. I know this is inappropriate given our professional relationship, but I needed to be honest with you." Maya stood frozen behind her desk. Every word out of his mouth was something she wanted to hear, and every word made her feel like a liar. "Warren, you do not have to say anything," he said quickly. "I understand if you do not feel the same way. I just needed you to know. And if you do not want me at the meetings anymore, I can send my assistant instead." "No," Maya said, the word coming out more forcefully than she intended. "I do not want that. I look forward to seeing you too." The smile that spread across Warren's face was like sunrise, bright and genuine and completely unguarded. "Really, really. But this is complicated. You are a client, and there are things about me you do not know. Then tell me, we can figure out the rest." He moved closer, stopping on the other side of her desk. "Have dinner with me, not a business dinner, a real date, please." Maya should have said no. She should have told him the truth right then about Emma, about the accident, about who she really was. But looking into his hopeful gray eyes, she could not make the words come. "Okay," she whispered. "Yes." Their first date was the following Saturday. Warren picked Maya up at her apartment, and she was grateful that Emma was at her boyfriend's place for the weekend. He took her to a small Italian restaurant in a quiet neighborhood, the kind of place with checkered tablecloths and candles in wine bottles. "I know it is not fancy," Warren said as they sat down, "but the food is incredible, and it is family-run. The Rosses have owned this place for 40 years. "It is perfect," Maya said, and meant it. Over pasta and red wine, they talked about everything except work. Warren told her about growing up in Riverside, about his complicated relationship with his father, about the years he had wasted and the work he was doing now to make amends. Maya told him about her parents' death in a car accident 5 years ago, about raising Emma while grieving herself, about her dreams of designing buildings that made people's lives better. "Is that why you became an architect?" Warren asked. "To make things better? I think so. After my parents died, everything felt so broken. I wanted to create things that lasted, that had meaning. Buildings can do that. They can be places where life happens, where people connect, where communities grow. That is what I love about working with you. You do not just see structures. You see possibilities." The candlelight caught in his eyes, and Maya felt her breath catch. He reached across the table and took her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. The touch was gentle and sent electricity racing up her arm. "I am really glad you said yes to dinner," Warren said softly. "Me too," Maya admitted. They dated through November and into December. Warren was everything Maya had not expected. He was thoughtful and attentive without being overbearing. He listened more than he talked. He made her laugh with dry observations about the absurdities of the construction permitting process. He opened doors and pulled out chairs without making it seem like a performance. He was, in every way that mattered, a gentleman, but he also had an edge that kept things from being boring. When a contractor tried to substitute cheaper materials, Warren shut him down with a few cold sentences that had the man apologizing profusely. When a city inspector made inappropriate comments to Maya, Warren's presence the next day made it clear the behavior would not be tolerated. He was protective without being possessive, strong without being aggressive. Maya found herself falling for him, truly falling in a way she had not since college. She thought about him constantly. She found excuses to text him throughout the day. She counted the hours until their next date. When he kissed her for the first time, standing in the snow outside her apartment building, she felt like she was coming home. But the secret sat between them like a wall Maya did not know how to climb over. Every time she thought about telling Warren the truth, fear stopped her. Fear that he would hate her for the deception. Fear that he would end the relationship. Fear that she would lose him just when she was starting to believe she could keep him. Emma knew something was going on. Over dinner at their apartment one evening, she watched Maya check her phone for the 3rd time and finally said, "You are seeing someone." Maya looked up guiltily. "What makes you say that? You have that look. That happy, distracted, checking your phone every 5 minutes look. Who is he?" "Just someone I met through work. It is new. I did not want to say anything until I knew if it was going anywhere." "But you think it might? Go somewhere, I mean." Maya set down her phone and really looked at her sister. Emma had healed well from the accident. Her leg was fully functional now, though she still had a slight limp when she was tired. The nightmares had stopped. She was working full-time again and dating a sweet guy named Chris who worked at the bookstore with her. She had moved forward with her life. "I think it might," Maya said quietly. "I really like him, Em." Emma reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Then I am happy for you. You deserve something good. You have spent the last 5 years taking care of me. It is time you let someone take care of you." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. If only Emma knew who she was falling for. But how could Maya tell her? How could she explain that she was dating the man who had almost killed her sister, who had driven drunk and careless and nearly destroyed both their lives? She could not. So she smiled and squeezed Emma's hand back and kept her secret locked in her chest where it burned like a coal. December brought the holiday season, and with it, Warren's invitation to his company's Christmas party. "It is formal and probably boring," he warned. "Lots of business associates and small talk, but I would really like you there with me, meeting the colleagues already," Maya teased. "That is a big step. I want people to know about you. I want them to know I am serious about this, about us. Us." The word made Maya's heart soar and plummet at the same time. The party was at a downtown hotel, all crystal chandeliers and champagne. Maya wore a deep green dress that she had spent too much money on, and Warren's face when he saw her made every penny worth it. "You look stunning," he said, offering his arm. "You clean up pretty well yourself." He did. In a perfectly tailored tuxedo, Warren looked like he belonged in this world of wealth and power, but he never let go of Maya's hand as he introduced her to business partners and employees. He kept her close, made sure she was included in every conversation, and looked at her like she was the only person in the room. They were talking to one of Warren's vice presidents when an older man approached. He had Warren's gray eyes and the same sharp features, though age had softened them. "Father," Warren said, his voice carefully neutral. "I did not know you were coming." "I am still on the board," the man said dryly. "I am allowed to attend company functions." He turned to Maya with interest. "And who is this?" "This is Maya Ortiz. She is the architect designing the Riverside Community Center." "Maya, this is my father, William Mitchell." William shook her hand with a firm grip. "The community center, Warren's passion project. He has been talking about nothing else for months." "It is an important project," Maya said carefully, picking up on the tension between father and son. "Important, expensive. Warren has always had a gift for spending money." William's tone was light, but there was an edge to it. "Though I admit this is better than how he used to spend it." Warren's jaw tightened. "Father, I am simply saying I am glad to see you focused on something constructive, and with a lovely companion as well. Perhaps you are finally growing up." Maya felt Warren's hand tighten on hers. Before she could say anything, William nodded politely and moved away to talk to other guests. "I am sorry about that," Warren said quietly. "My father and I have a complicated relationship." "I gathered. You do not have to apologize. He is not wrong, though. I spent years proving to him that I was exactly as irresponsible as he believed. It is going to take more than a few years of sobriety to make him forget that." Maya turned to face him fully, putting her hand on his chest. "You are not that person anymore. Anyone can see that, can they? Sometimes I wonder if people will ever see me as anything other than the drunk screw-up I used to be." His eyes were dark with old pain. "Sometimes I wonder if that is all I deserve to be." "Warren Mitchell, listen to me." Maya waited until he met her eyes. "You made mistakes. You did things you regret. But you changed. You worked hard to become someone different. That takes strength and courage. Do not let anyone, including your father, make you forget that." Something shifted in his expression, the darkness lifting slightly. He cupped her face in his hands and kissed her right there in the middle of the party, in front of all his colleagues and business associates. It was a kiss that said she mattered, that her words mattered, that she had reached something in him that needed reaching. When they finally pulled apart, Maya was breathless and Warren was smiling. "What did I do to deserve you?" he asked. "You became the kind of man who deserves me," she answered. If only she could be the kind of woman who deserved him, the kind who told the truth instead of hiding behind fear. Christmas came and went. Maya spent it with Emma and Chris, while Warren went to an obligatory dinner with his father. They texted throughout the day, silly messages and photos. Warren sent her a picture of his father's disapproving face at the dinner table. Maya sent him a photo of Emma laughing at one of Chris's terrible jokes. Normal couple things. Except nothing about their relationship was normal, because it was built on a foundation of Maya's lies by omission. The new year brought a cold snap and accelerated work on the community center. The foundation was poured in January. Framing started in February. By March, the building was starting to take shape, rising from the riverside lot like a promise being kept. Warren and Maya visited the site together often, watching their shared vision become reality. They stood side by side in hard hats, pointing out where walls would go, discussing how the light would fall through the windows they had designed. It was their project, their creation, and Maya had never felt more connected to anyone. It was also the happiest she had been in years. Warren had seamlessly become part of her life. He had met Emma properly now, though Maya's heart had nearly stopped when she introduced them. Warren had been kind and friendly, asking Emma about her work at the bookstore and her opinions on his community center plans. Emma had liked him immediately, which somehow made Maya feel even worse. "He is great," Emma said after Warren left. "Seriously, Maya, he seems really genuine." "He is," Maya said, which was true. Warren was genuine. She was the liar in this relationship. By April, Maya knew she was in love with him. Deeply, completely in love in a way that terrified and thrilled her in equal measure. Warren had not said the words yet, but she saw it in how he looked at her, how he made room for her in his life, how he talked about their future like it was a certainty rather than a possibility. The realization came one evening when she was sick with the flu. Maya had texted Warren to cancel their dinner plans, insisting she was fine. 2 hours later, he showed up at her apartment with soup, crackers, ginger ale, and cold medicine. "You should not be here," she protested from her cocoon of blankets on the couch. "You will get sick." "I have an excellent immune system. Now eat this soup before it gets cold." He settled onto the couch beside her, tucked the blankets more securely around her shoulders, and turned on her favorite cooking show. He did not complain when she fell asleep on his shoulder. He was just there, solid and warm and taking care of her, because that was what you did for people you loved. When Maya woke up a few hours later, Warren was still there. He had covered her with an additional blanket and was reading a book in the dim lamplight, his hand resting gently on her ankle. She loved him, and she had to tell him the truth before this went any further. The opportunity came a week later. Warren invited Maya to his penthouse apartment for dinner. He was going to cook for her, he said, which should be either impressive or disastrous depending on how much his chef had taught him. The penthouse was stunning, all floor-to-ceiling windows and modern furniture, with a view of the city that took Maya's breath away. But what caught her attention was not the expensive decor. It was the photos on the walls and shelves. They were candid shots, mostly black and white, of people in everyday moments. A woman laughing at a bus stop, an old man feeding pigeons, kids playing basketball in a park. There was something raw and honest about them, a vulnerability that seemed at odds with the controlled businessman Warren showed the world. "I did not know you were a photographer," Maya said, studying a particularly striking image of a homeless man reading a book. Warren came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I am not really. I just take pictures sometimes. It helps me see the world differently. These are beautiful and sad. They are real. That is what I try to capture. The reality of people's lives, the struggles and the small moments of grace." He paused, his breath warm on her neck. "I started taking them in rehab. My therapist suggested it as a way to reconnect with the world I had been too drunk to notice. Turns out I had been missing a lot." Maya turned in his arms to face him. "Warren, can we talk?" Something in her tone made him sober immediately. "Of course. What is wrong? Nothing is wrong. But there is something I need to tell you, something I should have told you months ago. He led her to the couch, sitting close but not touching, giving her space to speak. Maya twisted her hands in her lap, trying to find the right words. When we first met, at that initial meeting about the community center, I knew who you were, not just the CEO of Mitchell Industries. I knew about the accident, the drunk driving accident from 2.5 years ago. Warren went very still. How did you know about that? Because the person you hit was my sister, Emma. She was the one who was badly injured, who spent months in physical therapy, who still has nightmares sometimes about that day. The color drained from Warren's face. He stood abruptly, taking several steps away from the couch. Emma is your sister Emma, who I have met, who I have talked to and joked with, never knowing that I was the one who nearly killed her. Warren, why did you not tell me? His voice was raw, almost desperate. When we first met, when you realized who I was, why did you not say anything? I did not know what to say. I was so angry at first. I saw your name on that folder, and all I could think about was Emma in that hospital bed. But then, you started talking about the community center, about wanting to help people, and I did not know how to reconcile the man in front of me with the drunk driver who hurt my sister. Warren turned to face her, and the anguish in his expression nearly broke her. You have been lying to me this entire time, pretending to forgive me without even telling me who you were. What was this? Some kind of revenge? No, Warren, no. At first, I was just trying to do my job. But then I got to know you, the real you, and I saw how much you had changed. I saw the man you are now, not the man you used to be. How could you possibly separate those things? I am the man who hurt your sister. That does not go away just because I am sober now. I know that. But you are also the man who has spent every day since then trying to make amends. The man who built a community center to help people struggling with the same demons you fought. The man who has been nothing but kind and respectful and honest with me. Maya stood, moving toward him. The man I fell in love with. Warren closed his eyes. Do not say that. Why not? It is the truth. I love you, Warren. I should have told you about Emma sooner, I know that, but my feelings for you are real. How can they be? How can you love someone who did what I did to your family? Because people are more than the worst thing they have ever done. You taught me that. You showed me that change is possible, that people can grow and become better versions of themselves. Maya reached out, taking his hand. He did not pull away, but he did not squeeze back either. I have watched you work so hard to be a better person. I have seen the guilt you carry and the good you are trying to do. I have fallen in love with the man you are now, Warren, not the man you were. He opened his eyes, and they were bright with unshed tears. Emma, does she know about us? No. I did not tell her. I did not know how. You have to tell her. She deserves to know who I am, and she deserves the chance to tell me she never wants to see me again, which I imagine is exactly what she will want. We can tell her together, Maya said. We will figure this out. Warren shook his head slowly. I cannot ask you to choose between me and your sister. Emma comes first. She has to come first. I am not choosing. I can have both of you in my life. Can you, really? Warren finally pulled his hand away from hers, and the loss of contact felt like a physical wound. Maya, I care about you, more than I have cared about anyone in years, but I cannot be the person who comes between you and your sister. I cannot be another way that I hurt your family. You are not hurting us. You are making us happy. You make me happy. I made Emma suffer. That does not go away because you and I have feelings for each other. Warren moved to the window, staring out at the city lights. You should go. I need to think about this. We both do. Warren, please. Maya, please. I am asking you to go. I cannot have this conversation right now. Maya wanted to argue to make him understand that they could work through this. but she saw the rigid line of his shoulders, the way he held himself like he was barely keeping from falling apart. So she gathered her purse and coat and left, feeling like her heart was being pulled out of her chest with every step. The next 3 days were agony. Warren did not call or text. Maya tried to focus on work, but every time she looked at the community center plans, she thought of him. Emma knew something was wrong but did not push when Maya said she did not want to talk about it. On the 4th day, Warren finally called. "Can you meet me at the construction site?" "At 6 tonight." "Of course," Maya said immediately. "I will be there." She arrived early, pacing nervously among the half-built walls of the community center. The April evening was cool, and the construction site was empty of workers. Maya wrapped her coat tighter around herself and waited. Warren arrived exactly at 6, looking like he had not slept much in the past few days. He stopped a few feet away from her, maintaining distance. "I talked to my therapist," he said without preamble. "I told her everything. About you, about Emma, about the accident. I needed help figuring out what the right thing to do is." "What did she say?" "That I need to talk to Emma. That she deserves to know who I am and to have the chance to tell me how my actions affected her. That I have been avoiding that conversation for 2.5 years because I was afraid of facing the real consequences of what I did." Maya nodded slowly. "Okay. When do you want to do this?" "As soon as possible. If you are willing to set it up, if Emma is willing to see me." Warren finally met her eyes. "Maya, I need you to know something. Whatever happens with Emma, whatever she says, I respect it. If she never wants to see me again, I will stay away from both of you. The community center project can continue with a different liaison from my company." "You are giving me up." Maya's voice came out flat. "I am putting Emma first, the way you should have done from the beginning, the way we both should have done." Warren's voice cracked slightly. "I love you, Maya. I should have said it before now. I love you more than I thought I could love anyone. But love is not always enough. Sometimes you have to let someone go because it is the right thing to do." Tears streamed down Maya's face. "I do not want to let you go. I do not want that either. But this is not about what we want. This is about facing the truth and accepting the consequences." He took a step toward her, close enough to touch but not touching. "Talk to Emma. Set up the meeting if she is willing, and then we will see what happens next." That night, Maya told Emma everything. They sat in their small living room, and Maya laid out the whole story from the first meeting to the present day. She talked about recognizing Warren's name, about choosing to work with him anyway, about falling in love despite knowing what he had done. Emma was quiet through all of it, her face unreadable. When Maya finally finished, Emma stared at her hands for a long moment before speaking. "I cannot believe you did not tell me," she said quietly. "For months, you have been dating the man who nearly killed me, and you did not say a word." "I know. I am so sorry, Em. I was scared. I did not know how to tell you. You should have told me immediately. I am your sister. I deserve to know." "You are right. Completely right. I made a terrible mistake." Maya reached for Emma's hand, but Emma pulled away. "I am so sorry." "Are you really in love with him?" "Yes. I know that probably makes me a terrible sister, but yes. He has changed, Emma. He is not the same person who caused the accident." Emma looked up, and her eyes were bright with tears. "Do you know what it was like after the accident? The surgery, the physical therapy, the nightmares where I am trapped in that car and cannot get out. I spent months terrified to drive. I still flinch at the sound of screeching brakes. I know. I was there through all of it. I saw what it did to you. But you still chose him. You still fell in love with the man who did that to me." "I did not choose it, Emma. I did not mean for it to happen. But yes, I fell in love with him. And I understand if you can never forgive me for that. I understand if you need space from me, but Warren wants to talk to you." He wants to apologize in person to hear how the accident affected you. He says you deserve that. Emma wiped her eyes. He wants to meet with me, only if you are willing. He will respect whatever you decide. Emma was quiet for a long time. Finally, she said, "Okay, I will meet with him." Not for him, for me, because I have things I need to say to him. Maya set up the meeting for the following Saturday at a neutral coffee shop. She offered to be there, but Emma said she wanted to do this alone. Warren agreed immediately. The waiting was terrible. Maya cleaned the apartment, went for long runs, and tried not to imagine all the ways the conversation could go wrong. When Emma came home 3 hours later, Maya was sitting on the couch, her heart in her throat. "How did it go?" she asked. Emma sat down beside her, looking exhausted. He apologized, not just a simple sorry, but a real apology. He told me about his addiction, about the person he was before he got sober, about the work he has been doing to change. He did not make excuses. He just acknowledged what he did and how it hurt me. "What did you say?" I told him everything. The pain, the fear, the nightmares, the months of recovery. I told him how angry I have been, how much I have wanted to hate him. Emma took a shaky breath. And then I told him that I could see he had changed. That the person sitting across from me was not the same person who caused the accident. I did not forgive him. I do not know if I can ever fully forgive him. But I told him I could accept his apology and his efforts to make amends. Maya felt tears rolling down her cheeks. "Really? Really?" "And then we talked about you." Emma finally looked at her sister. "He loves you, Maya. That was obvious in every word he said, but he told me he would walk away if that was what I needed. He said your relationship with me was more important than his relationship with you. What did you tell him?" I told him I needed time to think about it, that this was all a lot to process. Emma took Maya's hand, squeezing gently. "I am not going to lie, Maya. This is hard for me. It is going to be complicated and probably messy. But you are my sister, and you have sacrificed so much for me over the years. If Warren makes you happy, if he has really changed the way he seems to have changed, then I do not want to be the reason you lose him." Maya pulled Emma into a tight hug, both of them crying now. "Thank you. Thank you so much. I have conditions, though. I want him to keep going to therapy. I want him to stay sober. And I want time to get used to this, to seeing you two together. Can you give me that, of course? Whatever you need." They held each other for a long time, sisters who had been through so much together and were now facing this newest challenge. It was not perfect. There would be awkward moments and difficult conversations ahead. But it was a start. Maya called Warren that night. He answered on the first ring. "Emma told me about your conversation," Maya said. "Thank you for being honest with her, for giving her the space to say what she needed to say. It was the least I could do. How is she?" "She is okay, processing. But Warren, she is giving us her blessing. She wants me to be happy, and she sees that you make me happy." There was a long pause. Then Warren's voice, rough with emotion. "She is giving us a chance, she is. If you still want one, if you still want us. Maya, I have wanted nothing else for the past week. I love you. I want to build a life with you if you will let me. I love you too. And yes, I want that. I want all of it." They met the next day at the construction site, their place. The community center was really taking shape now, walls and roof and windows, their vision becoming solid and real. Warren pulled Maya into his arms the moment he saw her, holding her like he would never let go. "I was so afraid I had lost you," he murmured into her hair. "You have not lost me. You are stuck with me now. I can live with that." They kissed, surrounded by their creation, by the building that had brought them together and tested them, and ultimately helped them become better versions of themselves. The next months were a careful dance of building relationships and trust. Warren and Emma met occasionally for coffee, awkward at first but gradually becoming easier. Warren never pushed, always letting Emma set the pace. He continued therapy and his sobriety work. He showed up for both sisters, proving through consistent action that he was the man he claimed to be. Maya and Warren's relationship deepened. They moved slowly, building on the foundation they had almost destroyed with secrets and fear. They learned each other's patterns and quirks. Warren learned that Maya was grumpy before her morning coffee. Maya learned that Warren had nightmares sometimes about his past and needed to be held through them. They learned to be honest with each other about everything, big and small. The community center opened in October, a year and a half after that first meeting. The building was beautiful, warm and welcoming, and full of light. The open central gathering space that Warren had loved became the heart of the building, with the different wings radiating out like spokes. The addiction recovery program was on the ground floor, easily accessible. The youth center was upstairs, bright and colorful. The job training center had state-of-the-art equipment. Every detail had been considered, every space designed with care. The opening ceremony was packed with neighborhood residents, city officials, and press. Warren gave a speech about second chances and community support. He thanked Maya publicly for her incredible design work. He did not mention their personal relationship, but everyone who saw them together could see the connection between them. After the ceremony, Maya found Warren standing in the central gathering space, looking up at the skylights they had designed together. "We did it," she said, slipping her hand into his. "You did it. This was your vision brought to life. Our vision. We created this together." Warren turned to her, and his smile was the most genuine she had ever seen. "We make a pretty good team. The best." That night, Warren took Maya to dinner at the same small Italian restaurant where they had their first date. He was nervous, she could tell, fidgeting with his wine glass and checking his phone. "Is everything okay?" Maya asked. "More than okay. I just have something I want to ask you." Warren set down his glass and took both of her hands. "Maya, this past year and a half has been the hardest and the best of my life. You have challenged me, supported me, and loved me even when I did not deserve it. You have made me want to be better every single day. I cannot imagine my future without you in it." He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. Maya's breath caught. "I know we have been through a lot. I know our relationship started in a complicated way, but I also know that I love you more than I have ever loved anyone. I want to spend my life with you, building things together, supporting each other, and creating a future we can both be proud of." He opened the box, revealing a simple but beautiful diamond ring. "Maya Ortiz, will you marry me?" Maya was crying now, happy tears streaming down her face. "Yes. Yes, of course yes." Warren slipped the ring onto her finger with shaking hands, and then he was kissing her while the other diners applauded. When they finally pulled apart, both laughing and crying, Maya held up her hand to look at the ring. "It is perfect," she said. "You are perfect. We are perfect together." They were married the following spring in a small ceremony at the community center they had built together. Emma was Maya's maid of honor, and she hugged Warren before the ceremony, telling him to take care of her sister. Warren's father was there, looking proud for perhaps the first time in years. The ceremony was simple and heartfelt, focused on the promises they were making to each other. Maya wore a simple white dress and carried wildflowers. Warren wore a dark suit and could not stop smiling. When they said their vows, they promised honesty, growth, and unwavering support. They promised to face their pasts without letting those pasts define their future. They promised to build a life together based on love and trust. After the ceremony, they walked through the community center as husband and wife. The building was full of people now, full of life and hope and possibility. Kids ran through the youth center. A support group met in one of the counseling rooms. A job training class was wrapping up for the day. Everything they had dreamed of was happening. "Did you ever think we would end up here?" Maya asked, leaning against Warren as they watched the activity around them. "Never. When I walked into that first meeting, I was just trying to build something good. I had no idea I would find you. And I had no idea I would fall in love with you." Warren wrapped his arm around her waist, pulling her close. "Best surprise of my life." 2 years later, they were back at the community center for an expansion announcement. The building had been so successful that they were adding a new wing, this one dedicated to family services and child care. Maya had designed it, of course, and Warren was funding it, but the biggest change was not in the building. It was in Maya herself, in the way Warren kept looking at her with a mixture of awe and excitement, in the secret they were about to share. After the announcement to the press, Maya and Warren gathered their small family together. Emma and Chris, who had gotten married the previous year. Warren's father, who had softened considerably since Warren's wedding and had even apologized to Emma personally for his son's past actions. A few close friends. "We have some news," Warren said, his hand never leaving Maya's. "We are going to have a baby." The reactions were everything they could have hoped for. Tears and hugs and congratulations. Emma squeezed Maya tight, whispering that she was going to be an aunt. Warren's father actually smiled, a real smile, and shook his son's hand. Their daughter was born that winter, a healthy baby girl with Warren's gray eyes and Maya's dark hair. They named her Grace because grace was what had brought them together. The grace to change, the grace to forgive, the grace to love despite the past. Warren held Grace with a tenderness that made Maya's heart swell. He was so gentle with her, so careful, speaking to her in soft tones and promising her the world. Maya watched her husband with their daughter and saw the man he had become. Not perfect, but trying every day to be better. Strong and kind and fully present. Emma visited often, bringing toys and books and spoiling her niece thoroughly. She and Warren had built their own relationship over the years, not forgetting the past, but not letting it define their present either. They would never have the easy relationship of people without history, but they had mutual respect and genuine care for each other. The community center continued to thrive. Lives were changed there. People found recovery, found jobs, found hope. Warren was deeply involved in the day-to-day operations, knowing most of the staff and many of the participants by name. He never forgot where he had come from, never forgot that he could have been one of the people seeking help instead of offering it. Maya continued her architecture work, taking on projects that mattered to her. She designed affordable housing, community spaces, and buildings that served real needs. Her reputation grew, but she never lost sight of why she had become an architect in the first place. To create spaces where life could happen, where people could grow and connect and heal. On their 5th wedding anniversary, they returned to the Italian restaurant where Warren had proposed. Grace was with Emma for the night, giving them rare time alone. They sat at the same table, eating pasta and drinking wine and talking about everything and nothing. "Do you ever regret it?" Warren asked suddenly. "Us, I mean, given how we started." Maya reached across the table for his hand. "Never, not once, do you?" "Only that I did not meet you before I made such a mess of my life. But maybe I needed to make that mess to become someone worthy of you. You are worthy of me, and I am worthy of you. We are worthy of this life we have built together." Warren raised his wine glass. "To building things together." "To building things together," Maya echoed, clinking her glass against his. They had built so much. A community center that changed lives. A marriage based on honesty and love. A daughter who would grow up knowing that people could change, that mistakes did not define you, that love could grow in the most unexpected places. Warren had reformed from his bad past, trying to be better for the community, for himself. He had not known that the change would lead to love. He had not known that in trying to make amends for his mistakes, he would find the person who made him whole. Maya had walked into that first meeting with anger and hurt. She had not known that she would fall in love with the man who had caused her family so much pain. She had not known that love could be complicated and messy and still be exactly right. They had both been transformed by their journey. They had faced hard truths, made difficult choices, and fought for the relationship they wanted. They had learned that love was not about perfection. It was about showing up, being honest, and choosing each other every single day. As they left the restaurant that night, walking hand in hand under the spring stars, Maya thought about how far they had come. From that first tense meeting to this moment of complete contentment. From secrets and fear to openness and trust. From two broken people trying to do good to two whole people building a life together. Warren stopped on the sidewalk, pulling Maya close and kissing her gently. "I love you," he said, the words as true now as the first time he had spoken them. "I love you too," Maya answered. "Always." They walked home together through the city streets, past the buildings and the people, two souls who had found each other against all odds. Behind them was a past full of mistakes and pain. Ahead of them was a future full of possibility. And in the present moment, they had each other. And that was more than enough. Their story was one of redemption and forgiveness, of change and growth, of love that refused to be denied. It was not a perfect story, but it was theirs, and they would not trade it for anything in the world. Years continued to pass, each one adding new chapters to their life together. Grace grew into a bright, curious child who loved to visit her father's community center and her mother's architecture office. Warren taught her about helping others and giving back. Maya taught her about creating beauty and purpose. Emma taught her about resilience and forgiveness. When Grace was 7, they told her the story of how her parents met. Not the sanitized version, but the real one, appropriate for her age. They told her about Warren's struggles with addiction, about the accident, about how Maya's Aunt Emma had been hurt. They told her about the hard work of change and the courage it took to forgive. Grace listened carefully, her gray eyes serious. "So you did a bad thing, Daddy, but then you became good." "I did a bad thing, and then I worked very hard to become better," Warren corrected gently. "I am still working on it every day. And Mommy fell in love with you anyway." "Your mommy saw who I was trying to become, not just who I had been," Warren said, looking at Maya with all the love in his heart. "That is what love does," Maya added. "It sees the whole person, the past, the present, and the future, and it chooses to believe in the good." Grace nodded, processing this information with the seriousness children bring to important truths. "I am glad you found each other." "So are we, sweetheart," Warren said, pulling both his daughter and his wife close. "So are we." The community center celebrated its 10th anniversary when Grace was 9. The event was huge, with hundreds of people whose lives had been touched by the center's programs. People who had found recovery, who had gotten job training, who had received counseling, who had simply found a safe place when they needed one. Warren gave a speech, but it was different from the one he had given at the opening. This one was not about plans and possibilities. It was about results and lives changed. He introduced people who had gone through the addiction recovery program and were now thriving. He highlighted kids who had used the youth center to stay out of trouble and were now in college. He celebrated families who had been supported through crisis and were now stable and happy. And he thanked Maya, his partner in every sense of the word, for designing a space that had made all of this possible. Maya stood beside him, their daughter between them, and looked at what they had created. Not just the building, though that was beautiful, but the community that had formed around it, the lives that had been changed, the hope that had been kindled. This was why they had fought so hard for their relationship. Not just because they loved each other, though they did, but because together they could create something bigger than themselves. Together, they could make the world a little bit better. Emma spoke at the anniversary celebration too, talking about second chances and the power of forgiveness. She shared her story, including the accident and her recovery, and how she had learned that holding on to anger only hurt herself. She talked about how Warren's genuine change and commitment to helping others had shown her that redemption was real. It was a powerful moment, one that left many people in tears. After the event, Emma hugged Warren tight. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for everything you have done, for the center for my sister, for showing me what real change looks like." "Thank you for giving me a chance," Warren answered. "I know it was not easy. The best things never are." That night, after Grace was asleep and the house was quiet, Meyer and Warren sat on their balcony looking at the city lights. They did this often, these moments of stillness together, reflecting on their life and their blessings. "Do you remember that night I kicked you out of my penthouse?" Warren asked. "When you told me about Emma, I thought I had lost you forever. I thought I had to let you go. I thought it was the only honorable thing to do." Maya turned to look at him. "What changed your mind?" "I realized that love is not about noble sacrifices. It is about fighting for what matters, even when it is hard, especially when it is hard." He took her hand, the same hand that wore his ring, the same hand he had held through joy and sorrow. "You were worth fighting for, Maya." "We were worth fighting for. We still are," Maya said softly. "Every single day." They sat in comfortable silence, two people who had traveled a long road together and had many miles yet to go. The past was behind them, acknowledged but not forgotten. The future stretched ahead, full of promise. And the present was exactly where they wanted to be. Warren Mitchell had reformed from his bad past, making changes he thought were just about atoning for his mistakes. He had not known that the change would lead to love, to Maya, to a life richer than he had ever imagined possible. Maya Ortiz had fallen in love with a man she thought she should hate, and in doing so, she had learned the true meaning of forgiveness and grace. She had learned that love was not about perfection, but about accepting someone fully, past and present and future. Together, they had built something beautiful. A community center that changed lives. A marriage that grew stronger each year. A daughter who would grow up understanding that people could change, that mistakes were not the end of the story, that love conquered more than anyone expected. Their love story was not conventional. It had started with pain and secrets, with guilt and fear. But it had grown into something real and lasting, something that proved that redemption was possible, that change was real, that love could bloom in the most unexpected places. As Maya leaned against Warren's shoulder, feeling his steady heartbeat and the warmth of his arm around her, she knew that every difficult moment had been worth it. Every tear, every hard conversation, every moment of doubt had led them here. To this life. To this love. To this perfect, imperfect, beautiful reality they had created together. Warren pressed a kiss to the top of her head, a gesture so familiar now it felt like breathing. "I love you," he murmured, the words a promise and a prayer. "I love you too," Maya answered. "Always and forever." And in that moment, with the city lights twinkling below and their daughter sleeping safely inside and their whole life spread before them like an open road, they were completely, utterly happy. The story that had started with an accident and anger, with guilt and secrets, had become a story of transformation and hope. A story of two people who had found each other against all odds and had built a life worth living. A story of love that had conquered the past and created a future bright with possibility. Their story, their love, their happily ever after.